Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Buckle up for safety, buckle up. Buckle up for safety, always buckle up. Put your mind at ease, tell your riders, please get your seatbelts buckled, everybody buckle up.
I couldn't agree more.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the Worry-Free Retirement, with your host, nationally recognized retirement specialist and six-time author and fiduciary, Tony Walker.
Now that Congress has passed the Fiscal Responsibility Act of 2023, it isn't too soon to start thinking about the mess lawmakers have created for themselves in the year 2025. You see, the way the current laws are written regarding the taxes you will owe on that tax-infested 401k plan all started as lawmakers granted a short-term reprieve from Congress's self-made debt limit crisis. Problem is, this temporary reprieve now sets the stage for more long-term problems, as the year 2025 could be an extraordinary time to see taxes go back up to pre-pandemic levels. Not only will lawmakers have to refight the debt limit battle, but they'll have to do so with the fate of trillions, let me repeat that, trillions of dollars of tax increases at stake. For sure, the time between now, which as we record this show on October 2nd, 2023, now and 2025, when our current low tax rates will expire, it promises to be a painful lesson in what happens when Congress confronts the consequences of temporary tax policy, even as it tries to satisfy ambitious but deeply conflicting goals. So what is included in the individual tax provisions of the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which again will expire at the end of 2025? Well, before we get into these tax law changes and how they could drastically reduce the amount of money you will have in retirement, let me introduce to you in the studios here in Louisville, Kentucky, America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Orander. Actually, good afternoon, Aaron. We're doing this recording in an afternoon for a change. How are you doing?
Yep, good afternoon. Yeah, we're doing this on a Monday afternoon, so good afternoon to you, sir. Good morning/afternoon to everybody listening out there.
And when will this show probably air, Aaron?
This is going to air on October 26th, the weekend of October 26th. We're only a few weeks out.
Now, that little jingle, in fact, let's play that again, Derek. Derek's teeing up the stuff for the radio show. I love this jingle. Let her rip, Derek.
Buckle up for safety, buckle up. Buckle up for safety, always buckle up. Put your mind at ease, tell your riders, please get your seatbelts buckled, everybody buckle up.
Ah, yes, life back in the 60s. Now, be honest, Aaron, you're a little younger than me. Did you ever hear this jingle before?
Nope, never heard it. Honestly, I could make something up and say, yeah, but it's like, I've never heard that jingle before. And
when I played it for you and Derek this morning, we were going over the script for today's show. Back in the 60s, that video that accompanies that, and most of them were lap belts. Did you notice that? They didn't have over-the-shoulder straps. Did you see how they're buckling in their kids in that little video? So do you remember a day when you were not buckled up as a kid?
Yeah, I was born in 1980, so I'm a child from the 80s era. I can vaguely remember there were times where, we weren't buckled up all the time. I remember in my dad's Cadillac, being able to rest up in the back portion of it, and just get baked by the sun when you were a little kid. You thought you were cool stretching out. So yeah, it's I vaguely remember a time where there wasn't such stringent seatbelt laws.
Yeah. And when I grew up, and I'm sure people listening are my age range in the 60s, it was really non-existent. In fact, the first car that I ever owned was given to me by my grandfather. It was a 62 Volkswagen Beetle. Literally, it had no seat belts. And so when I got my driver's license, I went down to have the test done in 1976. The state trooper jumps in the car and he's got his little, clipboard. He's going to take notes. And he says, well, I guess we need to buckle up. And I said, sir, this car doesn't have seatbelts. He went, oh, well. And off we went.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. So it's just funny. But so why am I creating this energy around this jingle in the 60s that I'm sure many of you my age will remember? And why am I playing Buckle Up for Safety right now and juxtaposing that with these tax laws that will expire? Listen, folks, this is really important. The current tax laws, which are some of the lowest I've ever seen in my nearly 40 years in this business, will expire in 2025. So, should you just ride along and just hope things play out for the best and that politicians don't monkey with these rates when they expire? Or, my advice, should you buckle up for safety and get a plan in place now? So when we come back, we're going to dive in. It's going to be a very technical show. Some of you may feel like this is going to go over your head. I promise you, this is information you're going to want to know, especially for those of you who have several $100,000 or more in a 401k, IRA, 403b, or lump sum pension, because if these laws expire and they go back to pre-pandemic rates, your taxes are going to go up, so you'll need a plan now. I'm Tony Walker. You're listening to The Worry-Free Retirement. We'll be right back. Hey folks, retirement planning specialist Tony Walker here with an important message about the growing popularity of annuities. It appears that more and more agents are now selling annuities. Problem is, many of these insurance agents are not fiduciaries. In other words, these agents who stand to make big commissions to sell you an annuity are not required by law to work in your best interest. So how can you find out if the agent pitching you an annuity is in fact a fiduciary? Well, that's easy. Just log on to finra.org, that's FINRA.org. And then once there, simply click on Broker Check, where you can quickly enter the name of the agent or their firm to confirm if in fact the advisor is a fiduciary. If they're not, my advice, get a second opinion from someone who is. Tony Walker Financial. So don't get blindsided by investing your money with an advisor who is not required to work in your best interest. But log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. Tony Walker, along with America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Orander. An important date because right now we're in October of 2023. And folks, you got roughly about 2 years or so to make some decisions on how to deal with the fact, this is a fact, that the current low tax rates, some of the lowest I've ever seen in the history of me in this business in nearly 40 years, these rates will expire in 2025. All right, Aaron, I'll ask a question of you. All right, you know our nation's debt spiraling out of control. You've heard me say that. It's at 31.5 trillion or whatever it is. If you had to be a betting man, I don't think you are, but if you had to be a betting man, and you know that nobody's dealing with the debt crisis, do you think in the future Congress is going to probably raise taxes or lower them?
Yeah, folks, if you have listened to maybe even one or two of these episodes, you know how I feel. I mean, I fully believe that taxes will be raised. They've got to get that money from somewhere. You know, they can't just keep compiling and not get it from anywhere.
I agree. So here we are. You've got time to think about this. You've got time to act. You could contact us after this show. We'll be happy to meet with you. But folks, in 2025, these historic low tax rates expire. And what we're going to do today, we don't know what they'll do. They could even raise them to who knows what. But even if they just go back to the prior law, today's show, which that would be the easiest thing to do, Aaron. I mean, rather than trying to rewrite laws, you with me, when they expire, you could just go back to the prior law prior to 2017 because taxes were higher then. So you'd still effectuate the same result, right? With a whole lot less work. Okay. So I'm going to assume that they go back. So in the meantime, before we get into these tax law changes, here's some of the things that could change when these laws expire in 2025 from 2017. So the first major change is individual tax rates will revert to their 2017 levels. That is going to happen, and those levels are much higher than today's rates. So we know individual tax rates will go up when these expire, unless they, were to renew these current rates, which I don't think they will. Number two, the standard deduction will be cut roughly in half. The personal exemption will return, while the child tax credit will be cut. That's number 2. Number 3, when these tax laws expire, the estate tax exemption will be reduced, which that's good news, but obviously it's not going to affect a lot of people anyway. We'll talk about that later. Number 4, the special 20% tax deduction for many pass-through businesses will disappear. Again, probably not going to affect a lot of you listening. And then finally, the cap on the state and local income tax, called the SALT deduction, will dissolve. Okay, and while some of these changes may not positively improve Joe Lunchbox bottom line, the bottom line for most hardworking savers is this. If lawmakers let the current tax laws expire in 2025, and assuming they go back to these former tax rules, most Americans and savers we work with, will pay more in taxes if they don't take action now. So what's the solution? Well, it's certainly not to sit there and do nothing and hope our friends in Washington fix the problem. Here's what I would do. We're going to buckle up for safety. When I come back, time allowing, I'm going to share with you the tax laws as they were versus today, the potential changes to those, and how much more money you could save by taking action now. I'm Tony Walker. You're listening to The Worry-Free Retirement. I'll be right back.
Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a pension buyout? Has the company you work for moved, been acquired, or closed its doors forever? And finally, do you have a 401k with a previous employer you'd like to move to safer territory? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k or lump sum pension to Tony Walker Financial. Let's meet in person to discuss your retirement options. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your free, no-obligation appointment. Let us help you today.
With the uncertainty of the stock market, now may be the best time to consider moving your 401k to safer territory. To talk to me at no cost or obligation, simply log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com.
Welcome back, folks, to the Worry-Free Retirement. I am America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Orender, and I just want to remind you of a couple of things. If you're just now tuning into the show and you want to catch what we said and talked about earlier, no problem. We got you covered. All you got to do is go to SoundCloud.com. That's SoundCloud.com, okay? And right there in the search bar, you're going to type in the Worry-Free Retirement. Worry-Free is all one word. So the Worry-Free Retirement. And you're going to see our awesome bobblehead. Click on that. You're going to find all of our past radio shows. Now, you want to catch the television show, but you missed it. You want to catch all these graphics Tony's getting ready to go over? No problem. We got you covered there as well. Just go to YouTube.com. That's YouTube.com. And in that search bar, just type in Tony Walker Financial. Click search, and you'll see Tony's smiling face. Click on that, and you're going to find all past video content from Tony Walker Financial.
All right. Thank you, Aaron. And speaking of past content, speaking of the past, I handed you the individual tax brackets and rates of the prior law versus the ones in effect now that expire in 2025. Basically, if you're just now joining us, folks, we're talking about these current low tax rates that people can enjoy in retirement, especially savers, Joe Lunchboxes who have worked hard, make good money, but don't have, tens of millions of dollars out there. These folks are in a very good position tax-wise, but these low rates will, not maybe, they will expire in 2025. So the question is, if you're a politician, you got all this insurmountable debt that nobody's dealing with, would you more than likely raise taxes? Or the easiest thing, Aaron, would be what? As you're looking at this graph, I know it looks complicated. If you're a politician, what would be the easiest thing and probably less detrimental to your political career? What would you tell people to do?
Oh, probably start cashing out some of their assets, things of that nature. I don't know. I mean, all of it's just really, it's just kind of a mess. The word mess is kind of the first word that comes to my mind when I look at all these numbers and I just look at all this. It's just confusing, and it just seems like a big mess to me. That's a good point. So if it's that messy, if I were a politician, what I would do is I would just kind of let them expire and say, don't worry, folks, we'll go back to the prior law. Well, what is that prior law? Well, let's see if we can dive in. And as Aaron said earlier, folks, this is going to be a powerful show.
but it's going to be hard to translate these numbers through the magic of radio. So again, you can either catch the TV show. I have television stations all around the state that have the show. It's going to be on during the same weekend as the radio show. You can go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, click on the section where you can see the times of the TV show. As well, as Aaron said earlier, go to YouTube.com, search Tony Walker Financial, and find it that way. Okay, let's start with let's start with the prior tax laws. Okay, now this is a married couple filing jointly. If you made between $0 and $19,000 of taxable income, your tax bracket is 10%. You with me so far, Aaron? I mean, anything in that area, if you made $10,000, they're going to take $1,000. This is federal only. We're not talking about state. Okay. The current Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, it's the same. Between $0 and $19,000 of annual income, it's still only 10%. So that's not bad, is it? So if somebody doesn't make a lot of money, this show what we're talking about. That's why I said this is really going to pertain to people who have a minimum of $250,000 of assets that have yet to be taxed, a 401k, a 403b, a lump sum pension, thrift savings account, all those types of things. It's not that everybody shouldn't be listening, but you'll see in a minute how it affects you. Then it goes up to the next level. We call this tax bracket creep. So let's say you make more income coming in than $19,000. The amount above $19,000 under the current law is 12% all the way up to earnings of 77. You've got your little graph in front of you, Aaron. See what I'm saying there? 12%.
Right, so that's a big, so from 0 to 19, that's only like less than 20,000.
That's right.
So 10%.
10.
But then the next 50,000 or so is only at 12%.
That's right.
Okay.
But look and slide over to the prior laws, which they're probably going to go back to. Notice that same amount between 19,000 and 77. Well, those were taxed at 15%. So that's an extra 3% tax. If they let these taxes expire, if that's the amount of money you're making, you'll go back to that. And this is called a progressive schedule, folks. So what happens is you just keep getting taxed on these higher limits, the higher you go into the next tax bracket. So speaking of that, let's go to the next tax bracket. The next tax bracket currently starts at $77,400 of taxable income, as it did in the past. It goes all the way up to $165,000 at 22%. So if these laws expire, that low 22% will go back to 25%. See what's happening here, Aaron?
Yeah, those 3% or so, I'm sure, once you get into numbers like that, once you get into six figures, that's going to make a huge, huge difference.
Bingo. And they lowered the threshold. The old law went up to 156. This goes up to 165 of 22. So now if it goes back to the old law, it's going to go up to the next tax bracket at 156, not 165 as is currently. If it goes to 165 currently, it's at 24%. If it goes back to the old law, that same section of money is at 28%. So I'm not even going to keep going over this, folks, because it gets so confusing, but every tax threshold, in other words, the higher you go up in the tax brackets, the more money you make, the more they're going to take if you don't do anything and these laws expire and they go back to pre-2017 tax rates. So, folks, here's the problem. Most of you out there, bless your hearts, you have socked away all this money. You've done a great job saving. I know these saver clients very well. I understand that. You've worked hard. You put all this money in pre-tax. The people that have been hanging on to this money, they don't care that you're going to have taxes on it. They've never worried about it. They just told you to save, save, save. And now all of a sudden, assuming you're retired or nearing retirement, assuming you do have several $100,000 in these accounts, you can put it off all you want to, but all you're doing is putting off the pain, folks. You're not providing a solution to the problem of potentially paying a boatload more in taxes. So what is the solution? Well, you got to get with somebody that's trained in this area. Tony Walker Financial. We are a retirement planning firm. Besides myself, who I'm a fiduciary, been doing this nearly 40 years. I have 3 other salaried fiduciaries there at Tony Walker Financial. We have 2 certified tax specialists on board. We charge no fee for the tax analysis, for the tax planning. All of those services are included at no additional out-of-pocket cost to our clients. So what are you waiting for? You're going to wait for 2025 to see what they do with these tax laws? Get action now. Call us at Tony Walker Financial. You can log on at TonyWalkerFinancial.com or simply give us a call at 877-499-9255. That's 877-499-WALK. Okay, when we come back, we're going to put some legs on this thing. We're going to show you how actual money coming out, what are the exact dollar amounts. Right now, we've just been talking about percentages, as Aaron said. Okay, well, what does that really mean dollar-wise? So 2 different examples when we come back. This is some really good stuff. You're listening to The Worry-Free Retirement. I'm Tony Walker along with Aaron Orender. We'll be right back. Hey folks, retirement planning specialist Tony Walker here. Have you heard those alluring annuity offers lately? Big bonuses, promises of huge immediate returns? They're hard to miss and harder to resist. But here's something you must understand before blindly turning your money over to an advisor pitching annuities. Most annuities come with hidden conditions that can hold onto your funds for longer than you'd expect. And the worst part, most advisors selling annuities are not even fiduciaries. In other words, these insurance agents are allowed to make big commissions on the sale of annuities, and they're not even required to work in your best interest. Sounds pretty concerning to me. Well, that's where Tony Walker Financial steps in. As fiduciaries bound by law to work in your best interest, you can rest assured that the annuities we offer are annuities that are right for you. To take advantage of talking to me personally, just log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com.
Buckle up for safety, buckle up. Buckle up for safety, always buckle up. Put your mind at ease, tell your riders please. Get your seat belts buckled, everybody buckle up.
Yeah, as our famous 60s jingle tells us, reminds you to buckle up for safety when you're in a car. But how about buckling up your money for these tax laws that will expire in 2025? Folks, you can't just sit around and wait to see what happens. You've got to take action now. So what we've done in our remaining time, we may even continue this next week if we run out of time. Our own TJ Timmy Reagan.
Is your name Timmy? No, my name's not Timmy. I don't like being called Timmy. I've never been called Timmy.
Of course, he is tax certified along with Leanne Tinsley. Again, these services we provide our clients are absolutely free. But I asked TJ, I said, TJ, let's talk about the age 73. That's the new RMD age. And let's say somebody's not worried about the taxes. They don't care about the tax laws expiring in 2025. But remember, if you're 73 years of age, folks, or approaching RMD age, you better get a plan in place because you have to take money out. So think about this. You have that tax-infested 401k or IRA or other retirement account. You're now getting ready to hit 73. You got to take money out, and that goes on your tax return. So what is this going to do if the tax laws expire in 2025 and we go back to the 2017 rates? Well, let's take a look. In this example, we're taking a 73-year-old couple filing jointly. They have a taxable income currently of $77,400. They have an IRA of $500,000 that they don't really need the money on. But hey, we let them know, hey, you've got to take money now. Your RMD is available. You have to take something out. That amount of money based on this calculation is just over $18,000. So you follow me, Aaron? When you turn 73, that $500,000, there's government tables that calculate your RMD. They have to take $18,800 out and pay taxes on that amount. You following me?
They have to pay taxes on the $18,000?
Correct. It goes into this calculation.
All right.
Because people are going to say, oh, what's the tax? Well, if you didn't catch the last segment, it's graduated, folks. So the first $19,000 is taxed at 10%. Then in 2023 and 2017, that's fine. But actually, the first 10, then it goes to 15% on the 2017 rates, but it's at 12% on the next level for the 2023 rates. The old rates, you would go up to a 25% bracket versus a 22% bracket now. And you say, okay, Tony, I'm still confused. What does all that mean? Well, again, the more you make, the more they take. So under the current laws, in this example, this couple would have a total tax. Now, this is on everything. This is on your RMD, your other income, of right at $11,793 in federal taxes. You with me, Aaron?
Okay.
Current law. If it went back to 2017 after these current laws expire in the year 2025, the taxes owed, this is a pretty substantial difference, are $15,374. That's almost $4,000 more in federal taxes. A lot you could do with that, isn't it? That's probably what you just spent going to Panama City, wasn't it? You like that. All right. So one more example. Let's say somebody has $1 million 401k or IRA, or a total of those. All right, same thing. Married filing jointly, they're 73, but their taxable income is much higher already. Their taxable income before their RMD is $156,000. So remember, Aaron, they're making more money. They're obviously already in a higher bracket, right?
Right.
Okay. So this RMD is really going to put a hurt on them because not only are they already in a higher bracket, when they take the RMD out, it's got to be a higher amount because remember, the RMD is based on how much you have.
Okay.
You with me? Okay.
So they're going to be taking out a little more than $18,000.
There you go. In fact,
Okay.
it's pretty much double. It's $37,700.
Which will mean higher taxes.
Higher
on
taxes. So let's compare that. So under the current rates, which again will expire in 2025, under this same scenario, current taxable income of $156,000, they have to take out a $37,000 RMD. Their total tax is $33,300. That's a lot of taxes, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
a lot of trips to Destin and Panama City. Okay. But if these laws expire and they go back to 2017, again, folks, we don't know what they're going to do. I'm just trying to, they've got to do something like this. I cannot imagine the taxes going lower. I just can't imagine that. Okay. And I guess they could probably renew these. That's one option. I just don't see it. I think it's going to be so much easier just to go back to the old tax rates. So now, if this same person were in the old tax rates, if we go back to those, it's not $33,300 they're going to owe in taxes. They're going to owe almost $41,000 in taxes.
You just keep saying higher and higher numbers.
Okay, I wanted to really mess up your day. One more. Somebody comes to me, this happens a lot. Taxable income of $89,000. They're 65. They're just retired. They got $1 million in their 401k. They roll it over to Tony Walker Financial and an IRA, which again, folks, we can roll it over without penalty. In fact, let's go to our own Craig Davis, who's brand new at Tony Walker Financial. Craig, tell us how it's going in the 401k rollover department.
I'm enjoying it quite a bit. Love the opportunity to help families, especially with these 401k rollovers. They can be a little complicated sometimes to try to do on your own.
And you have really taken to task the ability to help people feel comfortable when they decide to move money over to Tony Walker Financial. So please explain this 401k rollover process to those who are thinking about moving money to Tony Walker Financial.
We'll normally start with a phone call. We verify information, get security questions out of the way, know that we're talking to the right person, and then we'll place a conference call with the current custodian, whoever has maybe their retirement funds or 401k, and then we will just help walk them through the process of what kind of rollover we're doing, where those funds are going. We have all the information on our side, so the client can just be they can be at their current job, they can be out at a shop, something like that, and not have to worry about having all the details right there with them. We handle all the heavy lifting part for them. They answer some security questions for the company, and typically in 15 minutes, we can get it finished.
All right. Thank you, Craig. So we're almost out of time. I got to share this last one. Age 65. You're married, make $89,000 a year, $1 million in your 401k. You roll it over to us. You want to pay off your mortgage of $250,000. That's going to be a big tax. So if you do that, in this example, if you take that $250,000 out, which you can, we've had clients do this, under current tax laws, the federal taxes on that $250,000 with your other income, $92,000, almost $93,000. If you did this under the old laws, it's not 93, it's over $114,000. Now, folks, that's getting substantial. That's about $25,000 more in taxes. So these examples could go on and on, but in the essence of time, here's my point, folks. Why in the world would you sit around waiting till 2025 to see what the politicians are going to do with these wonderful low tax rates that are set to expire? Take action now. Contact somebody like us, a retirement planning firm that understands taxes and retirements and investments and annuities all in one. Tony Walker Financial. To take advantage of our free 10-minute fiduciary phone call, you can even talk with myself, the owner of the company. Just log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com, or you can give us a call anytime. That number is 877-499-9255. That's 877-499-WALK. Well, I tell you what, next week we are going to pick this up again, and we're going to talk more specifically about those nasty RMDs, those required minimum distributions, and ways you can keep your taxes down before these tax laws expire in 2025. But between now and then, you remember, if all else fails, you be worry-free and make it a good one.